Hey everyone, Simon here from Higher Plane Games and welcome to F1 2021's My Team Career Playthrough Extreme Edition. This is a 10-season campaign, 10 races chosen at random after Season 1 where I picked my favourite tracks. And we are the Osella team. There you can see the blue of the 80s and 90s F1 team. Artem Markelov's our second driver, and I'll just run through some of the options that I've changed for this mode. AI is at 95%. The options for all of my personal team have been reduced. So we get reduced R&D, reduced costs. I get reduced acclaim, and so does the team. But everyone else's stays normal. And the idea behind this is to make getting a back marker of the team up and running shouldn't take 2 or 3 years to put you to the front and win a championship like it did last year. I wanted to do a real extreme version of everything. There are no flashbacks. I can't restart anything. You'll occasionally see some juts of gameplay footage as I've made these highlights of each race where I've gone to take a look at replays to understand what's gone on elsewhere, and it's weirdly kind of cut it. But yeah, let's dive in. This is a 10 race season, and there you can see at the start we're kind of in the middle top of Class B, I would say. I've focused on durability for our Osella team, and let's see how we get on. You'll hear it.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. And they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations.
That's a light, by the way. I thought, what's happened to my livery?
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Sebastian Vettel and Ricciardo, Norris, Leclerc, Stroll and Carlos Sainz, Gasly, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, Smith, Mick Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen and George Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Markelov and Nikita Mazepin. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So with having reduced R&D and everything that's going on there, obviously we're not going to be able to, in theory, keep up with the AI as they take off. So let's see how we get on off the line. Not too bad there. But as you can see, Mick Schumacher getting a much better start. Oh, just avoiding something there. I thought Raikkonen was going to plough into the back of us. But I'm struggling with the handling in this game because the cars feel more tanky and much more razor-edged. I don't think my setups at the moment are particularly helping, and you'll see this as we go through this whole season. Your drinking game for this specific season is a shot for every front ring I break as the Alpines get argy-bargy with each other just ahead of us. Raikkonen past Schumacher there. Real struggle with that double left at the best of times. It's even worse in this game. But holding position P15, slightly higher than I was hoping that we would start at the season, but this proved a bit of a false dawn for me because I appear to be quick at Bahrain, or rather the AI is slower at Bahrain than what human players are. And so this very, very quickly balances out to us being back at the back of the field again for the rest of the season. But not a bad start. Following Nando, Bottas up front, getting fastest lap, asserting some bizarre Bottas dominance. So the races are all 25%, randomised weather. I've also turned the weather so that it's an estimated forecast, not a exacting one. So again, anything that I can do to make my life harder, I've done. And as you'll see throughout Season 1, it's going to continue to be an issue. So we're going to jump ahead to lap 3.
Gap to car in front is 1.7 seconds. Gap to teammate behind is 3.4 seconds.
Not too bad there, but as you can see, we're losing to the rest of the field, and we're basically chugging up part 1s and 2s here. And here we are on lap 5. Oh, that's not a great look, and that's not a great look either. Round she goes. And that's what I mean. I lose very quickly these cars. A little bit of a faff to get going again. And then you'll see it much more in the Suzuka Grand Prix later on, but there's an example. When you spin once, the tyres are so hot, you just lose all grip and momentum. And that saw me Mazza spinning down to last. And it gets worse. Can you see just how red they are? And so that kind of sealed my fate for Bahrain, unfortunately. Got myself back up and running again. In terms of actual, like, 1 lap pace, that wasn't looking too bad. Race pace, slightly less exciting.
Be careful, we think you're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
Thanks, Jeff.
We want to pit this lap, so push now.
So, as Schumacher and Latifi dive into the pits, we continue on. And here you can see, because of our spinning antics, we aren't even able to leapfrog Stroll, Leclerc, and the rest of the people all popping into the pits in front of us. Lots of mixtures for hard and medium tyres for the back half of the field.
Go now.
For our second stop, we stuck with the mediums. But because we were so far off, I thought, you know what, save the engine and just coast over the line, get ourselves lapped, and watch Bottas take the win. Why not?
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
But plumb last on debut, not a good look. Oh dear. And Nando gets best driver of the day. You what?
That's it for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Okay, thanks, Ant. So, let's see the podium, move on.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebration.
No Hamilton in sight.
A real team victory today.
Perez ahead of Verstappen as well.
Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
Number 2 drivers dominating at the beginning. Let's see how that continues.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Valtteri Bottas passes his rival to take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Fernando Alonso. Wherever he is, whatever team he's in, when is he not just brilliant?
Didn't score though.
He'll give you a performance every time, just like he's done today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So some interesting stuff there. Mick Schumacher is way over. And remember, this whole season was done before the 1.06 kind of driver stat update, and they've still not done the team sorting out for this season yet either. So there you can see, after the first run, we've already fallen behind Alfa Romeo by the time we reach Race 2 in Canada.
Sure. It's time once again to go racing here in Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world, and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, How do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the rundown into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Perez, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Vettel and Lance Stroll, Hamilton, Gasly,
so Hamilton taking a penalty there,
and Raikkonen, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, George Russell and Artem Markelov, Giovinazzi, Smith, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So let's see how we get on around Canada. Is it going to be any better for us? Get your shot glasses at the ready. There's your cue. Mazepin starting in mediums behind us. Not bad getaway. But as you can see, I think my downforce levels are slightly lower than everyone else's. A weird collision with Mazepin, which I don't think happened. And a second one as well. And then a little bit naughty over the grass there. The only thing that I've not got on complete realism is corner cutting, because I think I just end up with a million time penalties for no particular reasons. Some of which are quite harsh, as you'll see me get around Giovinazzi there. Nicely done. But Markelov up ahead, getting an even better start so far in our leading Osella, the F1 team that survived all the way through the 80s and into the 90s, but then, oof, there's the problem.
Be careful with the front wing, you've taken some minor damage. Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
All that backing up, we was either going to spank our teammate, but instead we spanked Giovinazzi as they overtook us.
Got that confirmed.
So into the pits we do come, but not without doing a cheeky move to blast past Mazepin on the way through as well. Also into the pits, Nicholas Latifi with a front wing problem too. And who's that up ahead? Fernando Alonso, again not having a great start to his season. Didn't score in Bahrain, won't be scoring here if he's got a pit at the end of lap 1 too. Also you'd think, a lot of smoke in there with the brake dusts. But yep, that's your first swig if you need it. First front wing change of the season. I need a 5-bar gate. Let me grab some paper.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
I promise you. I've got a takeaway menu 1. We're going to do a front wing count.
DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
So on to lap 2, and Mazepin also came into the pits, but interestingly he switched from the mediums onto the softs, which surely, if you're going to try and attempt to do a 15-lap stint on the soft tyres in this game, is going to absolutely ruin your race. But we'll go from there. The problem is that I'd gone a bit aggressive and gone for the hard tyres, when really...
Mind that front wing. It'll need replacing if it takes too much damage.
I could have gone for the mediums. And this was where I started to have a weird issue in Canada, that the curbs were breaking my front wing. So it must be a weird setup problem, but I was determined to not let Mazepin pass me straight away. So I held on into the hairpin. The Haas driver desperate to get through.
Okay, take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
Latifi already cruising off into the distance too. Then start of lap 4, or end of lap 4 onto lap 5. A clean exit but not a fast one, and that gives Nikita Mazepin just enough momentum to try and have a go down into turn 1. which spooks me and sends me off into the gerbs, and that breaks my front wing, even though Mazepin hit my rear.
You've got front wing damage. Recommend you box for a new one.
So, we're going to spot a theme this season. And with this year's damage model and the way how it all works, just the tiniest bit of damage really does impact you if you've got an...
Damage to your front wing, damage to your front wing.
Right,
Suggest
Jeff.
we box to change it. A new strategy is available on the MFD.
It just takes so much away from your downforce levels.
Confirmed.
So whilst I desperately try and hold off Mazepin, it is a pointless tact, at least initially. Because in my head, Mazepin's going to have to box again because he will run out of tyres before the race is done. So in my head, if we can hold him off until I get into my pit stop, maybe I can try and claw it back a little bit. So in we come.
Your lap times are falling off. We want you to pit in for repairs. Box, box, box.
And hilariously, Mazepin's also come in for a new front wing too. So, front wing breakage. There's another little 5 dot on the 5-bar gate. 2 in a race. On a roll.
Exit now. You'll be racing as you leave the pits. Complete. Go now.
The problem now is that with 2 pit stops in and the leaders have done none of them, we're into blue flag territory. How desperately did
Blue
not qualify
flag.
is this? So we come out behind the leading Red Bull. Max Verstappen, I believe that is, leading the way. We've got the Mercedes just behind, coming up to give us a little bit of a blue flag fun. We don't really want to get in the way of that. Not that that driving helps in any way, shape or form. But I've noticed with the blue flag stuff, as we get out of the way of Bottas, again leading Mercedes because of Hamilton's grid penalty.
Blue flag conditions. Create a gap and let the car behind through.
He needs to... the blue flag traffic kind of AI for people being lapped is much more improved this year. So Nikita Mazepin was not losing nearly as much time as I hoped he would do compared to me. What did help me out was the fact that you could see Verstappen into the pits, but so were some of the other drivers as well. So it wasn't until lap 13 that we got re-caught back up again. I was trying to be kind, but Max didn't seem to really want to go past. And then that led to the final piece of embarrassment in the puzzle on lap 15. Coming round.
Blue flag, blue flag.
I have no words. It just went on me. But what this did, as in Mazepin and the McLaren goes through, and so does Perez, it's broke the rear wing as well as the front wing.
Watch the rear wing. You've taken some slight damage.
You can see Norris getting through there.
Understood. Stopping this lap.
So we're
There's
in.
been an incident on track resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in time and there are no plans for a safety car right now.
It's another shot for you guys. Front wing number 3. But they can't fix the rear wing, which just means that for the last couple of laps I just skated around, desperately
go.
trying to hold on to the car. And as you can see there, it's still showing yellow. So a little bit skittish, very tail happy, wanting to swap ends with the car. Manageable, but by no means at front foot forward pace. So it was just a matter of dragging the car around and bringing it home. Which we did do for P22 again. But Markolov did a better job, thank Christ.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So, covering myself in more gravel than glory, it must be said in these first couple of races, Giovinazzi somehow gets driver of the day for no particular reason.
They take the checkered flag then.
But it's a Red Bull win.
In what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes
grabbing
of
the
other
second
drivers,
one there.
giving them the opportunity to
And
make
a
their way
nice
to the top
return to
spot
the
with
podium for Daniel Ricciardo for McLaren, bringing up the 3rd position. McLaren looking very strong in this
Red Bull are
playthrough
winners today
first
after
season.
showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Those faces are so scary. I can't deal with their faces. Some of them are so weird and odd. The game looks very beautiful, but yeah, that face capture.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
My driver of the day has to be, no question, Antonio Giovinazzi. Such an assured drive from one of the sport's newer stars, and a performance he can be very proud of.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Red Bull take over as championship leaders. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top.
So Gasly scraping a point.
Exhausted and elated with this
Better
weekend
in there
of
for Aston
Formula
Martin.
1. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Lando got himself back up to 15th, which was good from that first stop. Mazepin didn't. Well, he was going to pit. So if we dive into the race director, you can kind of see everyone was there, and all them front wings and all them warnings. Mazepin versus Smith. Who can do it? Who wore the gravel and front wing better? Everyone else kind of staying the same. Hamilton in quite early as well for his pit stop, obviously. With that grid penalty, that did not help him out at all. I think when I was playing this, I was so shocked at all of that. So in the standings, Bottas then leads from Verstappen and Perez. Ricciardo, Hamilton down to 5th. Norris, Leclerc moves up some. Sainz moves up some, so that was a good day for Ferrari. Tsunoda ends up best of the rest without scoring. Both Aston Martins very much in the points as well, which is great to see. 2 Alpines still yet to get off the marks. Already a decent gap there between the leading couple and the rest. You can see Russell leapfrogs Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi still 18th. Markelov there for his position, gets ahead of Latifi. And Red Bull take over the Constructors' lead ahead of Mercedes. Ferrari move up to 4th, which is good as well.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it.
Oh, Claire. Round 3 it is!
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship, except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976.
I feel like I should know that.
If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship.
So for some reason, the ant and stuff didn't appear here, but as you can see, I tried to include all of the pre-race stuff. This will be much more interesting when drivers and stuff are in not their normal teams. I do like how our car looks, though. I do like that livery. There's something very Dams GP2 in it. So yeah, let's take a look at the grid.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris, and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz,
continues,
Vettel, and Fernando Alonso.
Last Stroll, you naughty.
Gasly, Stroll, Esteban Ocon, and Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi, and George Russell, Mazepin, Smith, Markelov, and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the
As
track.
you can kind of see, the Osella, because we aren't able to keep up with these stuff, and I was going for reliability as well. We were tailing off the back and starting to fall to last. Well, we'd already fallen to last in terms of car performance, pretty much. And so off from the start, this looks a little bit dubious off the line, but look at Latifi's dive bomb. Worked a treat for him. I was busy having to avoid Mazepin and of course teammate Markolov there dropping to the back. But not a bad look, and not bad for our second sponsor, I think, is on here as well potentially. I'm not sure. Yeah. Ooh, yellow flag. And that was a problem for us.
Be careful with the front wing, you've taken some minor damage.
That collision with George Russell did a tiny piece of damage to our front wing, not enough that requires us to box. And that's what I'm talking about. When I've then done like a replay to see what happened with the yellow flag, it was Ocon running into trouble. And this is key because Ocon is running with some front wing damage, and this will be a huge catalyst for something that takes place later on. But for some reason, you'll see little like jumps in some of the gameplay footage where it's pertinent to what's going on. Desperately trying to keep Schumacher behind. What I wanted to do was, because the car felt a little bit like understeery but not terrible, I thought I could make it to a point where I could dive onto mediums early and maybe change the front wing at the same time. And that was my plan, and I was sticking with it so long as I could cling on, with the hope that because it was Raikkonen and Latifi up ahead with Russell, they would all be squabbling and I'd be able to cling on with DRS as well. And it was working quite nicely to the point where they were holding each other up. And I thought, you know what, I might have a go at Latifi here, down into turn 4. But he was great on the brakes, much better on the brake pedal than I am. I generally, with my setups for this game, as with most games at the moment, I'm always running about 86 to 88% brake pressure, because where I play with the controller and I'm fat fingered and heavy fingered, that helps put in some gradients to my braking, where I don't drive with a wheel. I've bought a wheel. I will learn at some point. I'll also learn track limits. But
DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
There we are into lap 3. And as you'll see, there is rather a large selection of cars all together up front. And it's because Ocon's in trouble. And Ocon's in more trouble, I think, after a little mini collision there, potentially with teammate Alonso. But we get an almighty
nice
launch.
work, that brings you up a place.
With Latifi, dive through and slot in nicely. Just ahead of Nicholas Latifi for 17th position. It's looking like a much better race for us so far. How's it going to pan out? Even having a look. Now you can see Ocon now really having trouble. Alonso's through. They're all pulling away. Ocon's going to come into the pits. And it's carnage. Raikkonen hits Ocon. Ocon gets spanked. Through we all go. So, Raikkonen has potential damage. I have still my earlier damage. We then go into lap 4, and there's more carnage still.
Okay, clear.
And this is Markolov.
The officials are deploying the safety car due to multiple cars being stopped on
crashing
track.
out.
Mind your delta. Drop your speed. Our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
And this brings out a safety car. So this was because Raikkonen was coming into the pits and Markolov spanked him. So this whole pit entrance into Austria,
a new strategy is
huge
available
problem
on the MFD.
with the AI. If they're going side by side,
Confirmed.
they can't cope. And so
Artem is out of the race.
Artem is indeed out of the race, but that allows us to pit, change our front wing. There's another shot. That's number 4 for the season. But it also means that we can get onto the mediums. We lost a couple of seconds
Look
there.
after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
Ocon gets out of jail free with some of his issues. Where he's on the hard tyres. Raikkonen too. And that brings us back out in 18th position to catch up to the safety car. But the key here is that it's happened on lap 5 and 6 to 7. Not everyone's
pitted. Safety car is
pitted.
in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up to temperature, and remember, there is no overtaking until the timing line. Stay in position until the green flags.
The back half of the grid have pitted, the front half have not. Bizarrely. So as we get underway,
Green flag.
Everyone's fine here, but you'll soon see that there's going to be a lot of pit activity and a lot of confusion as to where everyone should actually be in terms of race performance. So we're busy trying to hold off Esteban Ocon here. Not the best restart for us, it must be said.
We're catching the car ahead, but be aware that these tyres need to last till the end of the race.
A demon move to get past Yuki Tsunoda and get ourselves back into that P17. Because again, everyone just holding each other up down into turn 3. So, here we go. And continuing on our way, lots of people will be diving into the pits at the end of lap 8. And that causes more problems. Because out of the race goes Esteban Ocon. And takes Yuki Tsunoda with him.
We need you to reduce your pace. It looks like there's a high amount of debris on the track.
And Kimi Raikkonen. 3 into 1. And that was Ocon pulling out to retire and Raikkonen and Tsunoda smashing each other out at the same time. So all the drama going on there. But again, that's then people into the pits. They get to rejoin at the back. But it's before our normal pitters can get going again. So here come all of our race leaders, lap 9 onto lap 10. They can't hold out anymore and they've not gained a gap. So suddenly we find ourselves in 9th position, and look, Alonso 8, Stroll 7, Sainz 6, Russell P5 in a Williams.
Let's get ready to go racing again. The safety car is in this
2020.
lap. When the field accelerates, remember, there is no overtaking until the green flags. Safety car in this lap.
Because it's not been updated to follow the 2021
It looks
stuff.
like we might have an issue. Hang in there. We're attempting to manage it.
And that is where the kicker comes in. An engine issue.
An engine issue.
Just in time for getting going. But that's okay. We'll try and use our ERS to solve some problems. But the first problem we've got is the third fastest car is right behind us, and it's Daniel Ricciardo, and he does a traditional Danny Rick dive bomb. So I let him go and try and power out of the exit there of turn 1 to do something about it. Latifi's getting interested. Danny Rick nearly pushing me onto the grass. But he also then quite conveniently covers the line, so I'm more worried about Latifi, who I then push wide, and then he's now got to deal with Carlos Sainz's Ferrari next up. And so those two go toe to toe. Sainz diving through into turn 4. Latifi trying desperately to hang on around the outside, but that Ferrari is way superior. And then up ahead, we've got a spinner. And it's Lance Stroll. Sebastian Vettel in the Alfa Romeo, Christ. In the Aston Martin had binged it and had gone off on his own. Too much pressure for the German. So that gives us back the P9 that we'd lost. Still clinging on into the points there for an Osella. But Carlos Sainz is looking very leery. I give him the room in turn 1, but he's not so great on the exit of turn 1, interestingly. So I'm able to floor it, wear my tyres a little bit. But that's okay, and with Latifi trying to get through as well. And you can see Alonso and Ricciardo now going hell for leather. Just up ahead too. It is proper kicking off. Once again, Latifi can't get round Sainz, and Sainz battles back ahead again. The problem is, behind them is Valtteri Bottas coming at us, although Mick Schumacher, I believe, is giving him a little bit of a buffer at the moment. As you can see, I'm starting to think, my tyres are not at their optimum, and having to take second bites of the cherry to try and get into some of these apexes. The thing is that some of the other cars are having the exact same problem because they've gone for this strategy too, and that's why we are doing well. And with Ricciardo and Alonso now past George Russell into 8th, that poor Williams driver is about to become my new best friend, because he is able to only stay just within a second, and that gives me DRS, which enables me to stay ahead of Sainz. Bottas now past Latifi. It gives me just enough of an edge to be able to hold off Sainz down some of these straights. And now that Bottas has passed Schumacher and Latifi, Sainz has to worry about what's behind him just as much as what he has to do to try and overtake me in front. Whereas I, interestingly, am now thinking Russell feels a little bit slow. Maybe 8th is on the cards, but not before Carlos Sainz gets through. And there we go. A juicy cutback. And here comes Valtteri into the equation. This is going to be an awkward 3 into 1. Not going to work. And there you go. Bottas gets through, gets pinched on the curb, bounces over it, and that enables us to just cling ahead and retake 9th position and hope and pray that we can keep Bottas behind for a smidgy bit longer. Again, still just within that 1 second window with Russell. That gives us DRS, that gives us a fighting chance to stay ahead of the Mercedes driver down into turn 4. But he is on the soft tyres, and he is on a car that is about 2 seconds faster than us, so he should have no real ease. No real difficulty getting past us. But it's just choosing the moment and making sure that we're strong on the bits where you need to overtake. But one of the places that I find the AI do love to overtake is here. And I couldn't do anything, and through he went. And so did Sainz, nearly. And next up is the hard-charging Pierre Gasly, who's now also got past Latifi and Schumacher, and is on soft tyres. So again, Carlos Sainz on the mediums, desperate to try and keep him behind if we can, because hopefully he'll then run into the same issue with with Gasly as he did with Bottas, as Valtteri makes short work of George Russell, and we get a decent exit. Now, Russell does not have DRS here. Oh no, he does. My apologies. And so we do for it, but we overcook. Back through goes George. Desperate to cling on to this P9, but also for Russell, but also P10 for us. Sainz sticks his nose in, but again, not able to fully commit on the exit. Good clean racing between the pair of us. But Sainz in trouble, and Sainz pops into the pits. Apparently that had broken a piece of his front wing, and with 2 to go he decided to bail out of it, which rather annoyingly puts Pierre Gasly on soft tyres right up my chuffer. We've dropped Latifi and Schumacher, so now it's about what can we do to try and get around George Russell. I didn't fancy doing it there. I wanted to get the second bite of DRS. Make sure that I couldn't be attacked back again. Diving round the outside of George, giving him plenty of room. But he's holding on there, he's doing a great job around some of these corners, and I didn't want to do what Sainz did to us, but we do. Somehow it's wheel to wheel, and we get away with it largely. But as you can see, I'm like, no, not the wing, as I start to floor it, getting a little bit frustrated. Need to keep Gasly behind, desperate for this final point. What can we do? But amazingly, the front wing seems to be okay. So, Again, DRS, keeping us in that DRS train to stop Gasly being able to overtake. Not great on that exit though, and here's the problem. Last lap, being a bit rude with Gasly, a chop off the door. And this time we were going to have to be taking the inside route with Russell if we're going to do it properly, I think. And we're brutal. Last of the late breakers, very similar to what we did with Tsunoda earlier. Push him out wide, but Gasly sneaks through as well, and it drops Russell out of the points on the very last lap. It was art imitating life, because at this point it was before the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'd done this, and I was just busy thinking, I'm so sorry, George. You can't score points in the game either. And so that gets us into ninth position. Gasly tries to go around the outside. A little bit of hand waving there. Never mind. But we and grab ourselves P9 and World
pick up
Championship
and bring
points. If you'd have said that to me after the first 2 rounds of the season, that I would then go on and score a P9 next time around, I'd have been absolutely stunned. But that was a classic race.
A fantastic team effort to secure victory here in the Styrian Alps.
I've run out of Yazoo milkshake.
Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Taking care of the car was absolutely vital today. It's been obvious all weekend that the pace was there, but look at the attrition rate we've had. They would have been very concerned about any minor anomaly towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
So Hamilton grabbing the win, helping him get a little bit more back into contention with the championship there after 2 slightly compromised races. Lando Norris on the podium, second place. Perez grabs a third.
A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Nicely done. Again, McLaren very sneakily doing an exceptionally good job throughout this first season.
So, let's review the driver's standings.
And that's because Leclerc had a 5-second penalty.
His lead at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today.
Stroll grabbing a great position.
Who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Smith. Look at where they finished compared to where they started. It's not easy to cut through the field like that in Formula 1, so it was a great effort.
Alonso gets himself and Alpine on the board. Bottas there recovered to 7th.
Meanwhile, Alpine move up the table with another strong performance this weekend.
Ricardo
after an event
recovering
like that,
his race too. Smith and myself there get
Osella
Osella onto the board. Gasly again, the third 10th place for AlphaTauri. Russell just misses out, and it was Mazepin, sorry, not Schumacher, that was right behind the Latifi, Giovinazzi, not great. Vettel after his spin dropped to the back. Carlos Sainz had the pit stop. And what we didn't see in all of that was Verstappen retired as well. And that was key for the race. And it was a mechanical failure. Now you can see a time penalty for Leclerc for ignoring yellow flags. And that was with Max Verstappen's retirement there in all of the terminal damages and safety cars that were going on. I missed actually putting that into the video, my apologies. Now you can see lots of front wings being changed for once. Not all me. Sainz having several front wing changes during that race, Christ. Gasly having one too. But yeah, the AI cannot cope with that pit in. So Bottas still on the top of the championship, but Perez moves into second ahead of Hamilton and Verstappen. Norris best of the rest. Fernando Alonso moving up into 11th there, great stuff. Also a big push by the Stroll. Alpine moving to 6th ahead of AlphaTauri. Osella up into 8th, and Alfa Romeo are last. And there you can see what's happened with our development cycle. We've plateaued out, and now everyone's in front of us. And as you can see, Ferrari and McLaren have pulled up.
We return once
and it's
again
time for some rain.
The home of British motorsport and the birthplace of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's race day here at Silverstone, and it's time for the British Grand Prix. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position. And P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Lando Norris, and Verstappen.
McLaren doing very well.
Leclerc, Gasly, Stroll, and Yuki Tsunoda. Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, and Giovinazzi. Raikkonen, Russell, Mick Schumacher, and Sergio Perez.
So the qualifying for this session, as you can see, really spread out because it was a wet track drying, and so it depended on when you was out, and I cut on my quali lap at the end.
I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
Which ruined me. And Perez had gone out early, so that's why he's right down the back. As off and away we go. Bizarre there. Don't know why that cut. But it is full wet tyres, and it is tippy toe all the way from the beginning. I already didn't feel great, but I felt fantastic for doing a dive bomb like that. Getting myself up to 18th, 17th, having a look at George Russell, but I think he's got more grip. But then he backs out and lets me go around the outside, so up from 22nd to 16th in the first sector, looking absolutely beautiful, but I don't have the grip, the confidence, or the car, or the speed, or the talent to be able to stay there. So it's going to be a cling on for dear life and see what happens moment for these 13 laps. The two Alfa Romeos are up ahead. And you can see how much I struggle, and that is going to be a hold on to your breath moment. Thankfully Russell backs out of it. It does push us wide through the complex though, and sets us up to be a little bit of a failure. As look at Mick Schumacher try to go around the outside of Russell on exit 2. The two go side by side. Mick Schumacher's going to get through, at least for the time being, but Sergio Perez, after a poor start, trying to get himself back through again, gets past the pair of them coming out of the complex and down the hangar straight. So at the end of lap 1, we are P16. We shouldn't really be there, but Daniel Ricciardo is leading the way, and then I do a stupid and take Perez with me. And that gives us a virtual safety car. It gives us a 5-second time penalty.
We think the underbodies incurred some slight damage, but nothing too serious. The virtual safety car has been deployed. Slow down and maintain a positive delta.
Yeah.
There's been an incident resulting in a high level of debris on the track.
Not great, but this was my first time having underbody and side pod damage. So I was morbidly curious to see exactly how it works.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag.
Just skid.
VSC ending. Wait for green.
Everywhere. And you can see the damage. Barge boards and side pod problems. And you're just skidding around like a moose. So, because the front wing was fine, and you can't really repair much of that, you just have to soldier on. So as Perez came in and had his problem,
it looks like a virtual safety car is being deployed due to an incident with multiple vehicles being stopped on the track. We need you to drop your pace.
And this seemed to trigger a virtual safety car repetition problem throughout the next
slow down,
about
slow
5
down.
or 6 laps.
Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
I couldn't work out anywhere where other cars had stopped. No one had damage, no one was pitting, but it kept happening. And so I'm assuming this is some kind of weird game bug that was going on at the time.
VSC ending, we're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags. There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
Yet.
Okay, clear.
So we get going, we're trying to cling on for dear life because of our barge board and side pod damage, driving like a granny for a couple of corners. Perez obviously is pitted, put on fresh wets, repaired his car and is going to be charging back through to us. We aren't close enough to be able to catch up to Markelov, Mazepin and Latifi for a scrap at the back. They're too far ahead, but
the rain looks like it's going to be getting much lighter over the next 10 to 15 minutes. There should be more grip, but don't expect a dry track.
We'll kind of soldier on as we go. What that does make me think, though, is maybe at some point we could maybe have a chance with Inters and see if we can do something spooky there if the weather change happens quick enough. But as you can just see, just the barge board and side pod damage just makes the car evil handling. Before we get another
drop your speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
Don't understand why, but it ends pretty soon enough.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
It's just a shame that with the full wet tyres, obviously everyone's going to be trying to go to the end, which means that you don't
green flag
have that affect any kind of strategy or...
There's been an incident on track resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in time and there are no plans for a safety car right now.
Which is great. So Markelov has been in trouble. Up ahead, he's spun.
Yellow flag. Our gap to the car in front is 22.4 seconds.
He gets himself back going again.
Okay, clear.
But Artem Markelov, after binning it in Russia, is now facing the wrong way here as well. And I think that probably shows, Markelov and obviously how you can get problems with AI spinning and stuff like that, which is great, loving that. But also I think it shows that our car's handles like a bitch.
The car behind's catching you at a rate of about 2 seconds a lap.
Which ain't bad for a Red Bull. Versus an Osella, to be fair. So that kind of gets me a little bit interested in potentially, could we have a battle of the Osellas for 20th place, which could eventually, will probably become 21st because of the way how Perez goes. And again, just yet more those side pods buggered.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think we have cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
So, skipping on.
Caution, caution. Be aware, there's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags.
It's because Mick Schumacher's out. The Haas driver retiring from the race. So at least we won't be 22nd. Oh dear. Just look at how awful the car is to drive.
Okay, gap ahead is 11.3 seconds.
And here you can see Markelov pulling well away.
The rain is getting lighter now, but it's going to take a while for the track to dry out.
So Perez just makes a mug of us into the complex. I try and hold him off, but what that does is then end up making me go over the grass, and then he clips me as if to say, you've ruined my race, mate, and I'm second in the championship, but not anymore. So I thought, a couple of laps to go, why not stick on some intermediates and see exactly how that works for us. Of course, 5-second penalty and a front wing change, the 5th of the season. Juicy.
Go, go, go.
As you can see, the front runners are now diving through and lapping them, or popping me a lap down rather. And although the Inters was fine...
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
The Inters made much more sense by the time it had got on to lap 13. And so I was making much better progress by that point. and it wasn't terrible. So by the time we crossed the line, it was an interesting gamble, didn't necessarily pay off for us because we'd been lapped and so on and so forth, but yeah, we'd closed a few seconds down on Markelov, so it was technically the right tyre choice.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
But another last position. It is feast or famine for Smithy, and Gasly gets driver of the day.
What a fantastic Grand Prix that was.
But there's the shock winner.
An excellent win for McLaren.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from
this time it's Daniel Ricciardo, not Lando Norris.
Tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
Bottas second again, and Carlos Sainz on the podium there with a third for Ferrari, getting them onto the podium for the first time this year. Great stuff.
Let's see what effect this result
Norris
has
fourth
had
as well for
on the
McLaren, really helping them
4
out.
points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the
Down to
table.
fifth.
Some amazing talent out on
Gasly,
the
a great
track
run
today.
for sixth.
But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I'll probably go for Pierre Gasly. The team did a good job with the strategy to put him in amongst the pack, but it's the driver's job to capitalise on those opportunities, and he did so with a lot of skill.
Verstappen only
It's time
seventh
to
though,
check
that was a
out the
big
constructors' standings.
shout out there.
Mercedes continue to
Leclerc
extend
8,
their lead.
Tsunoda
There was
gets his
also a
first
strong
points of the
showing from
season in
McLaren
9.
team today.
Stroll
As they
10,
make their
top
way
Aston
up
Martin
the
ahead of
standings.
teammates.
Our
Alpine's
equal
both
parts
out.
exhausted and
Alfa Romeo's
elated
kind
this
of
weekend
nowhere
of
land
Formula
again.
One. Be sure
Russell beats everyone else out. And I'm not quite sure what happened to Crofty, but he decided to glitch out. So there's that. Now you can see in the race director just having a look at the incidents. Again, nothing recorded in hits, which makes those virtual safety cars really like phantom ones. I don't get it. So there we go. So diving into the Giants Championship, and it's Bottas ahead of Hamilton, but look, 19 points. Ricciardo moves into third ahead of the Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez. Norris in between them. The two Ferraris next. Stroll 9 ahead of Gasly and Vettel. Tsunoda now onto the scoreboard, dropping us down to 14th. Ocon 16th, still yet to score in that Alpine. They've not had a great start to the season, have they, the French team? Now you can see Haas is Mazepin, and both Williams is ahead of both Alfa Romeos in top scores, keeping them at the bottom. McLaren leapfrog Red Bull, AlphaTauri leapfrog Alpine with that great pool of points, with a double points finish for them. We are in dangerous territory in case any of those bottom 3 teams score, but I'm loving that I'm 8th.
we're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula One World Championship. It's a race the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher.
We're seeing lots of strong competition across those positions, so it would be super interesting to see the fight for that front spot. Personally speaking, I'm hoping for plenty of overtakes.
Are you now?
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Daniel Ricciardo starts from
One last time out, pole today.
Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Sainz.
Good run by Ferrari.
Norris, Vettel, Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda.
Double top 10.
Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon and Raikkonen. Mick Schumacher, Perez,
Overpowered.
Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell. Mazepin, Latifi, Markelov and Smith. And with lights out just moments away, it's time
So
to
I
go
took
down
some
to
grid
the track.
penalties with this to change out some of my components because of some issues here. Let's see how we get on. And I thought, you know what, go medium tyres, try something different. But it all goes horribly wrong down at turn 1. Stroll just stops. Mick Schumacher crashes out. Lance Stroll is out. Markelov is stuck behind. We get a 5-second penalty for spanking our teammate. And the safety car's out straight away.
Deploying the safety car due to multiple cars being stopped on track. Mind your delta.
And so, immediate carnage off the line. Perez there in trouble. Again, with track evolution, and there being, it was intermediates for quali, if I remember rightly. Perez seems to be sent out 4 minutes before the end of a session. So whenever there's something
available on the MFD.
That happens, it's always Perez and like a Williams and sometimes like a Alfa.
Got that confirmed.
Aston Martin. They're part of like the people that don't fit in early on. So they always have terrible grid slots whenever it's changeable conditions for the better. So we come in at the end, despite being safety car, still serving our 5-second penalty with Stroll and Schumacher out. No one else came in to change anything.
Exit now.
And we came in and went for hard tyres. Again,
Pit
me
strategy
thinking,
complete.
Let's go to the end of the race with this.
Through to the end now.
And because everyone will be picked back up again, no one else pitted because it was something at the end of lap 1.
Medium tyres at the
but
next
going
stop.
round that outlap, those tyres were skiddy as hell. So I caught
Pitting
back up
this
to the
lap
safety
then,
car
come into the
and
pits at the end of
swapped
this lap.
again for mediums. Again, on the old front wing change, that was number 6 of the season. Nearly had number 7 coming into the pits there, Jesus Christ.
Okay, let's get ready to go racing again.
So here
the safety car is in this lap.
Back on to the
when
back.
the field accelerates,
Of
remember,
Giovinazzi
there is no
and Latifi.
overtaking until the green flags. Safety car in this lap.
Co up ahead. Not the best restart, but quite happy to watch the carnage unfold in front of us with all of the different penalties going on. You can see a Mercedes is leading the way, so Ricciardo is not in the lead of this race anymore. With it undergoing on lap 4, I'm thinking this could work out really nicely for us and our medium tyres. If we can just vaguely cling along to the back end of all of this. As you can see, my car is not the best going up Eau Rouge. If we can just keep a couple of seconds within the rest of the field as they come in and pit. I know it's relatively short in Spa for a pit delta, but we could in theory just cycle back through to the front and be within the shot of maybe a top or midfield slot and an outside chance maybe for a point, depending on how well we do. So off and away. As you can see, the car really understeering around everywhere, but to the point where it wants to snap oversteer, and that's why I'm really struggling to get this Osella to really work for me throughout the course of the season. Even though we are doing upgrades, but we are continuously, as you can see by qualifying, falling further and further back to the point where it's Artem and myself on the back row, which is exactly how I wanted this playthrough to be. So for me, delightful. So that was a juicy lap of Spa. By the time we get to the end of this, oh, careful, grass. Oh, don't know what that was. Taking the nick, Smith. Let's see what happens.
We're trailing our teammate by 2.1 seconds.
So with Markelov
DRS has been enabled. DRS is now enabled.
holding people up ahead.
Yellow flag.
And then had a yellow flag up ahead.
Someone's come off ahead of you. There's a yellow flag ahead.
That's because
Some information on Ocon. They are out of the race.
Ocon's out. No points again for the French driver. Not been his first half of the year at all, has it? Or Alpine's, to be fair.
Okay, clear.
So again, that's them in problems. Russell had also pitted and switched onto the medium tyres the previous lap too, which was early compared to everyone else, so he was slightly out of sync. But what that showed me was that if he came out 12 seconds behind in a Williams, we could be coming out maybe lower top 10 by the time everyone dives in. So Latifi in, Giovinazzi and Markelov continue on. Look at everyone in, and we're going to get
We have 5
bonus
laps of
of
fuel
it.
remaining.
They're going to have the inside full of sauce, obviously, and look at Verstappen. Gets out just ahead of us. So does the Mercedes, so does the McLaren. But we're ahead of Charles Leclerc on hard tyres. Alonso 5 seconds back on mediums. Now he's been kicking around 11th, 12th and so on and so forth. This is looking great for us to be able to do a little bit of a train of people holding up. But then Markelov causes problems, spins, holds up Giovinazzi, lets us get past the pair. And we are into the points, and
Caution,
it's a VSC.
The virtual safety car has just been deployed due to a build-up of debris on the track.
Now, I'm not sure if that was caused by Verstappen clipping Markelov and sending him round.
Drop your speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty.
Just as
Slow
terrible
your pace
as I
immediately.
am, Markelov, that's the third race in a row.
VSC ending, we're going green.
He's either
Maintain
crashed out or
positive
spun.
delta until the green flags.
So we're back away again. I hate VSCs in the way how they end.
The track is clear. Green flag.
It gets us in 10th. Giovinazzi hopefully trying to
You're
hold
in the
people
top
off,
10
but
now.
then he
Keep it
pits,
up.
which gives us Leclerc, Alonso and co. All problems there. Perez in the pits is going to come out behind them all.
Artem in the pits.
Martin pits for repairs, I believe. But that's us, P9 now. Are we about to do...
Some information on Ricciardo. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
And there we are, problems for Ricciardo. Third in the Drivers' Championship, was pole position, no longer leading the race, and now he's got mechanical issues. There's me salivating, hoping that they're bad enough to drop him out of the race or give him problems to potentially give us a P8. But it's a long old way to go, and our car is not loving the latter half of this tyre life. And look at the advantage
There's 3
Leclerc's
laps of
got.
fuel remaining.
He's on hard tyres though, which is helpful for us. He's able to hold signs off quite nicely around Austria. Oh, he nearly had a go there.
Gap to car in front is 7.3 seconds.
With Gasly closing up in the AlphaTauri. And there's Alonso and Perez just behind too. Perhaps our time in the points will be limited. That was when I realised that Sainz and Tsunoda had yet to pit. And Norris. And Vettel. And although they all did kind of beat us just about out, here was my problem. Charles Leclerc was going to stick his nose in and I didn't feel comfortable. And that spank with Gasly was the beginning of the end. Gasly moves up into 10, we drop down to 11. We're going to try and hold off Fernando Alonso and do so, just about. Perez right behind too. But that little spank spooked me. I didn't feel quite so comfortable with the car, even though it didn't seem to register much in terms of damage. I start to get flat-fingered when I start to feel grips going. I try to be more feathery fingered and try and lose less time, but then I start to overreact and get ragged. And that was me tapping Alonso, I think. Alonso trying to go around the outside, does not work. Perez watching brief. Well clear of the Alfa Romeo.
This is your final lap.
Perez
final lap of the race.
had got past us by the time we hit this final lap. So we'd swap down to 12th. And sadly, Eau Rouge was going to come back to bite us again. That was Alonso going through as well. I just didn't... It's easier to lift and straighten Eau Rouge than to try and hang on for dear life and have an almighty accident down at the other side. So that was a real shame. 13th though was looking good. And at least we'll be able to kind of put to bed some of that one race wonderness until and so through goes Kimi Räikkönen. We don't have 13th anymore, we now have 14th. Thankfully, with just that one big spin, although it does heat up the tyres massively, it does allow us to just cycle our way through because Russell and Mazepin are so far back.
Okay, gap ahead is 4.2 seconds.
We can just coast it round in 14th. But actually, I think from a strategy point of view, that works really well. We just don't have the car on open circuits like this to compete in any which way at all. And that was our problem. Excuse me. But I was pleased with 14th.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it
and
home.
Although we'd had that spin, the turn 1 issue was just not our fault whatsoever. We still got driver of the day! And it gave me a little bit more confidence.
A difficult race then on one of the all-time classic circuits, but they've persevered to take the win here today. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
Except the field was bunched up.
So after
anyway.
a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making
But
their
Mercedes
way to the
won
podium.
too. I think that's the first one this year, isn't it? Bottas again ahead of Hamilton
a well-earned
though.
victory for Mercedes.
Verstappen getting themselves up into the podium in 3rd. But again, this is Bottas showing an advantage and continuing to pull away in this championship of bizarreness.
Let's review the drivers' standings. More points for Valtteri
Ricciardo
Bottas,
ended up
further
5th after his
solidifying lead
mechanical
at the
issues
top of the
behind
table.
Norris.
After an incredible day of
Vettel,
racing,
great race
who
for
was your
6th.
driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to Smith. Look at where they
Sonoda, his
finished
best
compared to where
reign,
they started.
into 8th place
It's
as
not
well.
easy to cut through the field like that in Formula
2
One,
points
so
finished
it was
back to
a great
back.
effort.
Let's move on to the constructors.
Perez
Mercedes
did not
continue
score.
to extend their lead. It's been an absolutely wild
Great to see us on
weekend of
page
Formula
1
One
though.
action. I can't wait to see
Russell
what's
beats
next.
Mazepin, Giovinazzi no good there. Latifi, and now you can see Markelov just nowhere to be found. And the retirements of Ocon, Stroll and Schumacher. Now you can see we were the only one to do a double stop. And now you can see terminal damage for Schumacher and Stroll. Still not sure what really happened there. Stroll just seemed to stop. And Schumacher smashed into the back of him. Verstappen there did indeed collide with Markelov and was given a warning. So that explains the Markelov spinaroo. Front wing change there for Markelov after that too. So in the standings, Bottas leads 25 points over Hamilton. Verstappen moves back ahead of Ricciardo. Perez only 6th there. Then the 2 Ferraris, the 2 Aston Martins, Gasly, Alonso, Tsunoda, and myself as the point scorers, just the 14 so far. Russell ranking ahead of Ocon at the moment. Raikkonen there, that was his best result, moves him to 18th in the championship. No other changes in the constructors. McLaren just about ahead.
Let's have your thoughts.
Alright, Claire. So, in our battle with Mazepin, he is winning, and I'm sad to say he will continue winning. And there you can see just exactly how the form is. So Aston Martin showing really good in terms of the actual team's performances, not bringing forward those results though. And it's off to Zandvoort we go, and I want to include these as the practice crashes because it's front wing time. This was FP1. Launching it, I had real problems trying to get a setup that worked, and I never did for Zandvoort. And then I had that collision with Nicholas Latifi, removing him from the session, giving me a 5-place grid drop. Idiotic. So, front wing gone. Then it was into FP2, where I was trying desperately again to get something to work with this car. it must be ride height related or something that I'd really gone wrong with, because it was just bottoming out and spinning off at weird and wonderful locations. And again, final corner, and just look, it just loses out, swaps ends.
That was a heck of an impact. Let me know you're okay.
Out. But the problem was that I was finding this on several corners, and this was me in quali.
There's only one lap of fuel
also
that looked bad.
Binning it
Are you
too.
all right? Let me know you're all right.
So I'm jotting down those as all front wings to be replaced. Here we go, a little bit of outside stuff again. Not very often you get to see some outside stuff of the Osella during this playthrough. You can see I'd already bungled over the curbs like a banshee. It just, yeah, the most pathetic of crashes into the barriers to break my wheel. Terminal damage, out of the session. And that was it for quali. Or was it practice? I can't remember. One of the two. Either way, it was a triple threat of disaster and a grid place penalty. So since I was at the back anyway and it had been terrible, I'd done a complete change of everything as well for Zandvoort. But it sets it up for exactly how this round is going to go.
It's a warm welcome once again to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. McLaren, what do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
I definitely feel like since I put that Pride Rainbow on, my performance has gone down the toilet.
Qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Hamilton. They've taken a grid penalty.
Again, more reliability
Leclerc,
for Hamilton.
Vettel, Sainz, and Lance Stroll. Gasly, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, and Fernando Alonso. Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Nikita Mazepin. Latifi, Markelov, Raikkonen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Smith. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So yeah, we weren't going well and we were not fast.
We're still in with a chance of winning the title. We need you to push as hard as you can in the 5 remaining races.
Oh, Jeff. So again, going for the medium tyres. It's looking at different ways for us to do something different where possible. Down into turn 1. Just looking at keeping the nose clean, not wanting to get involved in anything. The car is going to be a wrestle for the rest of the race. What is it that we can do? See Markelov and Raikkonen nearly in trouble. Markelov there nearly losing it himself coming out of that turn. Indeed, our car's not great and definitely planted at the back of the field. And so we kind of just go from there. We don't have the tyre advantage, of course, tyre disadvantage early on. And you can see just exactly how runny wide I am. No downforce on this car whatsoever. But by the time we got to lap 3, I was actually not feeling too bad, and this car seemed to have clicked a little bit with me, to the point where us on mediums were about to pass Markelov on softs, and we did it. Nicely done. And then he stuck it up the inside, and I don't think that broke anything for him, but I was a bit worried that we were going to have a Team Osella implosion. It's a proper Yahoo circuit, this one. I love it on Race Room. Less so in this F1 game. The cars feel slightly cumbersome through the corners, whereas in like GT3s and GT4s and F3 cars, this works beautifully. as a track, in my humble opinion. Oh, well cut, Simon. But again, you can see I'm starting to run into problems, and
check your MFD for a new strategy option.
We got a wing change, and it's because I was getting a bit too confident for myself.
Okay, copy that.
And it just was not working. So into the pits we come.
Complete.
A new wing change.
That was our last stop.
And
no more.
I didn't want to go for soft tyres, so I thought, you know what, let's do hard. This will be a nice cosy finish to the end, and if something kicks off and there's a safety car, we can then pit and change onto softs and maybe affect something towards the end should that happen. Little did I know that I would be the one triggering some of this problem. So by the time we get to lap 9, I'm now in the vicinity to be lapped because I'm struggling that much with this car. We go into this fast corner, catch it, nearly lose it, and then do the same thing there with Bottas behind nearly going off the road in response to us. So as we then let Bottas through and go around for this kind of next lap as the people in front of us start to pit. This time around, next lap on lap 12, the leaders have pitted. But we're in trouble again. Overcorrecting, oversteering. Around we go.
Blue flag,
and
blue flag. Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.
A huge problem for several drivers. There we go. Silly, silly accident from myself. But then both Bottas, or sorry, Hamilton, I think that was, and I think that was Ricciardo, spanking out. So, our first retirement of the season. Again, that's another front wing I guess we can add to the list. But we've effectively now, just with our shit driving, started to cause problems with the championship. So, every back marker has a day like that, I'm sure.
Many doubted whether they could pull off the win here in Zandvoort, but they have done. And done it in spectacular style.
I wish it would let you watch the rest of the race. With Bottas out and with, I think it was Ricciardo out. Oh, sorry, Norris out.
Cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing
that is a good swing for Hamilton. Was 25 points behind. Not anymore.
When it all just clicks.
Another Ferris wheel at a track.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations.
So, Hamilton, Ricciardo and Perez on the podium because Bottas and Norris have been taken out.
Race winners today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. Let's focus on the driver.
There ain't no Verstappen in there either, so a big swing.
Fernando Alonso, wherever he is,
Alonso and Leclerc going well for Ferrari, Stroll and Vettel both in for Aston Martin, but when you consider that they're supposed to be the third best team, that's not great. Ocon finally gets points for Alpine, it's a double Alpine point scoring.
Whose good result moves them further.
And there's Giovinazzi, he gets a 12th, and that's crucial for them.
Another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join
so as you can see, Norris and Bottas were out. Verstappen retired at the same point that I was crashing. So whatever was going on there, look, see, he doesn't appear on anything. So it's as if he's just retired and vanished from thin air. Vettel has to change a front wing at some point, so that's probably why he dropped down some positions to Stroll. But yeah, Verstappen's DNF, I don't know what happened, but it's not registered anywhere. But that puts Danny Rick back into third in the championship. It puts, crucially, Bottas and Hamilton on equal level in points. Perez moves ahead of Norris. And there you can see Alonso moves ahead of Gasly. Ocon ahead of us. Boo. And Giovinazzi moves up to 17th, which is crucial because that puts Alfa Romeo ahead of Haas and drops Haas down to last. Again, McLaren well clear of Red Bull because of that Verstappen retirement, although Norris were of course out as well. It was kind of even Stevens.
Bad luck out there today. Let's talk about
And
it.
Claire giving all the facts there.
How do you
This
feel
week's income from the sponsors is cleared, and we're making good profit against our running costs.
So as we continue on, I thought it'd be worthwhile just having a quick look at some of the stuff that we've got behind the scenes so that you get to see a couple of the different places that we've got here. So that's where my department is at, which is obviously limiting what we can do. And that's because we get less cash from sponsors with some of this reduction in everything from our team. Similarly, I get less claim, so therefore I can only start getting the driver perks later on as well. So it's all compounding as you go through the game, which I love because it just makes it extremely difficult. So here we are at Monza. You kind of expect me to lose a front wing here, don't you?
And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's have a chat about McLaren.
Again.
What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment.
Ant.
Everyone seems like they're in great
Stop
spirits
it.
and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Me chilling with my iPad again.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Norris,
run from Sainz,
Daniel Ricciardo, and Verstappen, Perez, Vettel, Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda, Stroll, Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, and Giovinazzi, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Nikita Mazepin and Charles Leclerc. They've taken a grid penalty. Latifi, Russell, Smith and Artem Markelov. That's it then. It's time to go
exactly
racing.
3 seconds off pole.
We head to trackside for today's race.
Only just ahead of Artem as well. Wasn't looking great for us. But this game is ripe for a turn 1 dive bomb. How are we going to tackle it this time? We're going to back out is what we're going to do, and then dive to the inside and get round several. There's a yellow flag going on, and I think we're going to get a warning for collision with Latifi this time. Still got trauma from Zandvoort's practice session, I see. But that gets us up to 18th, and then with the inevitable congestion that gets us past Mazepin, and a very cheeky move there by cutting up Ocon. Kind of collateral damage really there for the Frenchman, sadly. That gets us ahead. Look at the Alfa Romeo of Giovinazzi doing a good job. Up in 14th ahead of Alonso. But as you can already see, we're in trouble in terms of grip. So here comes Ocon, around the outside, and nicely through. Not even a contest, but that then kind of puts us really wrong-footed out of Ascari. And I keep on, throughout all of this race, clipping the exit curve of Ascari, because otherwise I end up going too wide and hitting the gravel, and it really compromises my speed all the way down that back straight. It leaves me a sitting duck on a few occasions. At the end of lap 1, I'm quite happy to be P17 after starting P21. And we're ahead of a Ferrari too. Incidentally, it's 21st. So Mazepin fancying a little go perhaps. Now I don't think I've actually said we've got the... Ooh, that's not great. Oh dear, we've got the Honda engine, which is why we aren't so bad around Monza.
Okay, we've lost a position. That's us down a place.
And that unfortunately allowed Mazepin to get ahead of us. And that curb on the exit of the second chicane, whew, it did half launch you up in the air this year, which is great, but also very challenging. It's a prime example of how little grip it feels like the Osella has.
DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Nice. Nicely done. Naughty Mazepin, you shall not pass for now. And that gets us back into 17th for the time being. So this will kind of go on and on for a little bit, with us basically backing people up. We're going to go through a little bit of a montage of some of this over the next couple of minutes. So again, down the straight, it's about understanding where you can position the car.
Gap ahead is 3.0 seconds. Gap to teammate behind is 2.6 seconds.
I seem to be a little bit better out of the Parabolica than some of the AI cars, which helps me get into the straight and kind of keep enough of an advantage ahead. But where they're all battling each other in a DRS train, that's helping us. So Mazepin having to defend from Latifi, defending from Russell, defending from Leclerc, who bizarrely in a Ferrari is still down here in lap 4 of 13. So we continue on our way again. Next lap around. And this time, look at the juiciness behind. That's Leclerc getting past Latifi. So Leclerc making up some progress. And we've dropped well off from the Alonso and Ocon brigade. Ocon's recall up to Alonso again at the end of lap 5 of 13.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the hards.
Mazepin might be busy looking at us, but it's Leclerc who he needs to be paying attention to. We send him to the outside. That actually blocks off Leclerc being able to do a move. But we're safe again for another lap. Trying to do the MFD and not bin it. And there we go again. Look at Leclerc around the outside at Parabolica. A beautiful move. You can see Ricciardo into the pits. Hard tyres early on.
Our gap to the car in front is 7.9 seconds.
And Leclerc is straight onto us. But we are last of the late breakers. Push him out wide and hold the place. Just for a little bit longer. Halfway through the race now. And down into the second chicane once again. We take too much of that curb.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
And that's another fucking front wing. And a collision with Leclerc as part of the process.
Copy that.
Not a good look.
There's been an incident on track resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in time and there are no plans for a safety car right now.
So into the pits we come. As Ricciardo gets past.
Artem
With Artem in on the same lap.
In the pits.
That was not helpful for us, so there's a slight delay on the old changeroo for the wings. Everyone all in at once. No big surprises or shake-ups there, but we are now on, that's the 12th front wing I count in this video. Oh, there we go. Trying to do a bit of parking, and then just casually popping yourselves into position. I do love the fact that they bring out a new one. It's as if they've just gone, we might as well get the next one out for him.
Go.
Give him 5 minutes. Oh dear.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
Great stuff. And that was us until the end, just kicking around towards the back. There was nothing else to go on with this race at all. So Lewis Hamilton takes the win. Markelov ended up being cycled back to the back of the field. Leclerc only P18 despite being in a Ferrari, just not able to make the progress.
We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Monza again, being a DRS train, not helpful at all. And Danny Rick gets driver of the day, pitted earlier than everyone else, didn't he? You saw him last place.
They made great use of the clear air today then and didn't allow anyone to exploit the slipstream behind them. What a great win here at Monza. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
I do love Monza as a track, though. It just was not kind to me this time round.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot.
Grabs the win,
victory for
and by my reckoning then takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Norris on the podium again. Probably the podium that he deserved in Zandvoort now being handed to the McLaren driver.
And now let's take a look
at
the
teammate Ricciardo, who they go 22nd to 4th.
Lewis
Wow.
Hamilton secures the top spot in the Drivers'
The
Championship.
Red Bulls,
now,
not
let's
great.
Discuss, Ant, who would you say is a contender
Sainz,
for Driver of the Day?
Well,
Vettel,
Crofty,
Gasly and
Daniel
Stroll.
Ricciardo would have to be my driver of the day. It's less about what he did right, but how little he did
Again
wrong.
there,
Perfect
Aston
drive.
Martin.
It's time to check
Third
out
best
the
car,
constructors'
potentially.
standings.
Not great on
Mercedes
points.
continue to extend their lead. It's
Alfa
been an
Romeo's ahead of
absolutely wild
Ocon and
weekend
Alpine.
of Formula One
Mick
action.
Schumacher
I
again doing a
can't
great
wait
job.
to see what's next.
And Latifi both ahead of Leclerc. Not quite sure how that one works. But yeah, you can see on the old best laps just how poor the Osellas are compared to everyone else there. He got a collision for a warning for hitting me. Had to change his front wing, which I think probably also impacted Leclerc's progress. And you can see Hamilton takes the lead in the standings. Norris moves ahead of Verstappen and Perez. The Red Bull charge has absolutely fallen to pieces. Sainz moves ahead of Leclerc in the battle of the Ferraris. Vettel still ahead of Stroll in the battle of the Aston Martins. Everything else looking pretty Stevens behind. And there you can see the completed problem here. Sorry, Aston Martin are the 4th best team. McLaren 2nd best team. We very much down at the back.
We
As
come
we move to
to you
Suzuka.
live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the
I
race.
love that
but
screen
before
so
we
much.
do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect
wasn't that
for
terrible.
today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on warm tyres.
So this race has rain incoming.
It's time to see how our drivers are
But we don't know when,
after yesterday's
because of
exciting
the
qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts
stuff
from pole
going on with
position,
it. Apologies,
and
that's my
Lewis
chair
Hamilton
creaking.
completes the front row. Considering the
There's
rest
a
of the
Merc 1-2
grid,
again.
we have Norris, Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and
Ferrari
Sainz.
gaining momentum, aren't they?
Stroll, Vettel, Gasly, and Sergio Perez. Tsunoda,
my Perez.
Ocon, Kimi Raikkonen, and Mick Schumacher. Ricciardo, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Mazepin, Markelov, Smith, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid.
So
With
again,
preparations almost complete,
with Suzuka,
let's
I
head
was
down
having
to the
real
track.
issues with Sector 1's curbs, and it's spinning me off. So I didn't really click very well, particularly in qualifying. Race trim I felt a little bit better with, but just no good over a 1-lap pace. So again, with Alonso they're going straight through. I'm just happy for us to not clash into the back of Alonso for starters, although we've just got back past. But I'm looking at this long game of medium tyres, and the key with this is that we know that there's supposed to be rain appearing in this race, but we're not sure when. So I thought if it was going to come like immediately, we could be in the hard tyres and make the switch to wets if it comes at an opportune time, because it's a 25% race. So maybe we can just kind of chill out towards the back, and hopefully not bin it too much in the meantime. As you can see, this car very snap oversteer. But we needed to make sure that that rain was coming, We needed to be in a position to capitalise, potentially, if the positions were aligned for us. So once I just diving right past Markelov immediately there. By now, towards the back end of the season, our car, although improving in terms of performance, not able to keep up with the rest of the field, and so the gap between us and what everyone else has got is widening. Especially as
We're expecting some rain soon. Expect the first drops in the next few minutes.
Yeah, and because he said the next few minutes, that's what made me think, do you know what, I'm glad that we're on these medium tyres. Let's stay out as long as we possibly can without it just being an absolute cluster. But with our departments also being not very well developed either, because we're not getting as much money from sponsors and everything like that.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
So it came to lap 6, and it's telling me to box, and I'm saying no. You know, boxy.
I think we're still on the right tyres for the time being.
And it was because of that visual drop cue, and I thought, no, let's stay out and see what we can do. And we're in last place anyway. Why not take the gamble? So out we stayed, and in actually came...
Artem is in the pits. Artem in the pits.
Artem anyway, into lap 8. And you can see we're kind of getting out there just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who had that grid drop penalty. And we're in amongst the Alpha Tauris, and we know that they've been nibbling on the lower edges of the points all season. So if we can hold on around there, that could be in good stead if everyone then needs to come in for wet tyres. Daniel Ricciardo immediately just blasting through. And I knew my battle was not Daniel Ricciardo. So that McLaren...
The forecast suggests this rain is going to keep getting stronger for at least the next 15 minutes.
Is the third fastest car, if not second. Then, yeah, it needs to... They aren't our battle. But again, it's this whole, the rain is coming, the rain is coming, the rain is coming. More and more people popping into the pits this lap. Culminating in...
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
I'm no idea why the game allowed me to keep it, but I was very pleased with it. Getting around Sonoda for what is now 12th place in the race. But again, the laps are running out and the rain isn't affecting the car and the track nearly as quickly as I'd hoped it would.
Our gap to the car in front is 2.3 seconds.
So, clinging on, trying to keep Yuki behind us. Ricciardo and Vettel getting further up the road and away from us, and you can see there a real cluster of cars right up ahead. So even if like the top teams were going to have to double stack, that would give us another, what, 5-6 seconds. That could be another couple of places, and we could just drive a very wide Osella clinging on to 10th. That was my plan anyway, as I nearly chopped Yuki Tsunoda up.
Okay, even though we're seeing cars struggle in these conditions, if we pit for inters now, we're going to be too slow and we'll burn them out. Make the best of it for the time being.
And that was not what I wanted to hear. And so Tsunoda right onto my rear now, down into turn 1. There's nothing I could do. Got the same Honda engine, much better car.
Okay, we lost the position. Try to keep focus.
We hadn't done any engine dev work all season, and now Ocon's all over us as well. And there was a little bit of contact, and round we went. Managed to spin out of the way for Raikkonen and Schumacher. Back on our way again just before Giovinazzi could get onto us. Then Giovinazzi did get onto us, as does Russell. And it's a little bit hairy. because we've got 0 grip.
There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
And round she goes again. That causes problems for Giovinazzi and Latifi briefly, but it's Giovinazzi that runs into the main problem there. And the problem with this is that our tyres are now burnt up with smoke and heat and flat spotted and a real problem. And so everywhere we try and go, see, I'm having a bit of a Control-Alt-Delete in my brain. So I'm like, how did that happen? But as you can see, you can't even get it under acceleration, it's just spearing off. And it's because look at those rear tyre temps. Quah. No good.
The gap to the car ahead is 20.2 seconds.
To repair his front wing. And what was crucially...
Okay, we can take you this lap.
The big thing for me, and I was holding off just to see what he would do, he went onto soft tyres, and that made me think, right, it's never going to be wet enough in this race to try inters, so that was why I then sped up and went for it again. I just wanted to see what Giovinazzi was going to do, and if he was going to go onto wets, or inters, sorry, I would have done the same. I doubt we would have caught up enough seconds in the time to actually get any positions, but it was worthwhile having a go. So, soft tyres for me.
Go now.
Out we go.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit
Rejoin
stops.
just behind Lewis Hamilton, who is leading the race, and bring it on home.
Okay, there appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
But not before. An engine issue.
It's not good news, I'm afraid. Seems like an engine issue.
So as we just let Stroll and Perez through in their battle for 5th and 6th. It was just very much a cruise it on home, collect the points.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So on Honda's home Grand Prix, we made a hodgepodge. Perez gets driver of the day, going up from 10th on the grid to 6th.
They've done it then.
But it was Hamilton's win.
A brilliant win on this beloved
and
figure of
that
8
puts him into a slightly more aggressive
what was
lead.
It that helped them achieve this success?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today.
Because look, it's a McLaren second and a Red Bull third.
Lap after lap after lap. If you can
No
do
Bottas
that,
at all.
you can
And
capitalise
Bottas, if
on
you'd
other
seen,
people's
was
errors
holding
without
up an
making many
awful lot
your
of
own.
cars in
And that's an
7th.
approach
I
that
think
can
with
push
some
you a
kind
long
of
way
damage or a
upfield.
mechanical issue.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. And after this round of the World Championship,
you can see there Bottas down in 7th. Might have started in pole and done the fastest lap, but he must have run into
who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talents out on the track today, but Anthony,
Stroll doing a great run for Aston Martin.
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, Crofty, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
It's time
More
to
points
check
for
out the
Gasly there in
constructors'
9th
standings.
as well for
Mercedes
AlphaTauri, punching
continue to
above his weight.
extend their lead. I'm equal
And
parts
Ricciardo
exhausted and
only able
elated
to get
with
up
this
to
weekend of
11th
Formula
despite
One.
having
Be sure
the
to join
second
us
best
for the
car.
next one.
Always tricky around Suzuka to overtake though. No points for Alpine either. With Alonso starting at the very back and only getting up to 17th. And Giovinazzi parked it right at the very end of the race as well, after he'd done that pit stop. So he was a retirement. Oh, and a front wing change, and it's not even mine. Living the dream. So that's Hamilton now 26 points ahead of Bottas, looking very good with 2 to go for him. Norris moves into third ahead of Danny Rick, then the Red Bulls, Ferraris, Aston Martins, although Stroll moves ahead of Vettel, Gasly ahead of Alonso. No other changes for anything else going on further down, and then in the constructors there, Red Bull seemingly closing in a little bit there on McLaren in the battle for second. There you can see our team standings and everything going forward there. More interviews from Claire. You don't need to see those. Jesus Christ. But there you can see we're falling just further and further behind everyone else. Williams, though, now ahead of Haas. Aston Martin move ahead of Red Bull and McLaren, interestingly, as well. Then it's Ferrari, Alpine. A drop back there with AlphaTauri. But the problem here, as you can see, is that we had quite a few developments coming through, and they all failed.
Welcome along to the most populous city in North America.
So by the time we got to Mexico, trying to fix all of those problems, we weren't going to get any more upgrades for the rest of the year.
So who, I wonder,
always
will the
a
crowd
problem.
cheer on today to the top step of the podium? I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming
how do you?
when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the rundown into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race.
Nice.
Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The
Bottas on pole.
From pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Sergio Perez,
a missing
and
Hamilton.
Tsunoda,
Great run by
Gasly,
AlphaTauri there.
Hamilton, and Esteban
Hamilton down in 9th.
Norris. They've taken
With a
a
lot
grid
to
penalty.
do. Raikkonen, his best start of the
Antonio
season.
Giovinazzi
And Giovinazzi
Ricciardo.
there. More grid penalties
Mick
for
Schumacher, Russell,
Ricciardo.
Carlos Sainz.
And Sainz.
They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Nicholas Latifi, Mazepin, Smith, Markelov, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. That's it then.
Penalties
it's
for those
time
both
to go
too.
racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So I'd buggered up that quali, and that quali was inters to or wet to inters. So again, it was about who was out at the right time for that. Great start by us, but my front straight line speed was not good in Mexico. I'd gone for quite high downforce to get round those curvy corners and save the lap time there. So as you can see, Alonso smashing into the back of Markelov. We then hit Schumacher, nearly hit Raikkonen, and end up popping out of all of that in 15th somehow. We have a go at trying to get round Raikkonen. Go a little bit greedy and wide on the Giovinazzi front, but then slot ourselves in nicely. And look, the Alfa Romeos, they've gone for an alternative strategy on the medium tyres, which could hold them in very good stead if they're able to keep hold of their kind of midfield runs and not fall too far off the rest of the field. Been very liberal with the track. My track limits are atrocious. Never mind. But look there, the two McLarens. For the team second in the constructors, neither are in the points at the moment, and so they're going to need to sort that out if they want to make sure that Red Bull don't have some kind of massive points haul and get back in front of them. Also notice how Hamilton hasn't really progressed in lap 1 either. As Carlos Sainz passes Kimi Raikkonen, or does he? Side by side between the two. Sainz does get the position. And then he's straight onto us on lap 4 of 18. Tries to go on the outside in the corner into the hairpin.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
Such a clumsy little clunk, but I didn't see much of us to do unless we completely backed out.
Copy.
So, quick decisions in for a front wing change, number 13. Unlucky for some. And then we come into the pits, but look at the general drivers dropping off the back and having a good old squabble. Don't know what Mazepin's doing, several seconds off the pace. I know he's on medium tyres, but that's not great. Alonso in for hards. Markelov also had pitted and had gone on to mediums. So, despite us putting on mediums, not hards, having learned about the problem with putting hard tyres on earlier in the season, I thought, no, we'll go mediums.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
And we still get out ahead of Fernando Alonso, so we're P20. And there's Antonio Giovinazzi having a retirement for Alfa Romeo, which kind of ruined what could have been a very decent setup of a race for him, running 13th on the mediums early on. And there comes Fernando Alonso having a go in the Alpine. He's going to take us for what was 19th position for the time being. But he's on hard tyres, and so we do have a tyre advantage. And my plan with this was that if we can make use of that tyre advantage and my downforce levels in the tight sections will be close enough to get DRS to just hang on to Alonso's coattails for the rest of the race and see what this could do, because we didn't lose any real time apart from the seconds changing the wing. So as you can see, by the time we get to lap 9, Russell's now pitted. He's only 10 seconds up the road. And actually the car's feeling not bad. We're still with Alonso. And by the time we get to lap 10, we're having a go. And we retake Fernando, which is absolutely superb. Raikkonen now on soft tyres in 17. Looking great for him, potentially to now do a little bit of a burn forward as others start to pit. And by the time we get to lap 11, we've also just got round Nikita Mazepin as well. So he's now behind us, having done his stint on the mediums, now come out in the softs, and that's Alonso just blasting back past us again to take what is now 18th position. We'll move forward to slightly later on in the lap for lap 11, coming out of the stadium. And you can see Nikita Mazepin all over the back of us. This is where thank God we've still got DRS, because Alonso is able to kind of give us enough DRS to stay vaguely within reason. Mazepin gets us. Look, I'm really pleased with that move. Such a little sweep behind and then ta-da! Needs jazzy hands, that's what it needs. Good jazzy hands. And a cocktail glass full of something juicy. And that keeps us in P19 for the time being. We've dropped Markelov behind us. And there you can see Schumacher's only a few seconds up the road.
Some information on Norris. They've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring. The safety car is out. We need you to reduce your pace. It looks like there's a high amount of...
A huge smash had gone on. So, essentially, Lando Norris's car, I believe, was expiring. And Stroll and Gasly smashed into the back of it, doing a little free car pile up, and they were out of the race. So out comes the safety car, and not everyone had pitted, and some more drivers had run into more problems. So Ricciardo had been caught up in this and had got a penalty and had broke his front wing, which I think we'll see in a minute. So the safety car lets us through so that we can stay on the lead lap and catch back round again. And so we spend the next 3 laps re-catching back up to the back of the queue. Now you can see Ricciardo having a pit, take his 5-second penalty, I believe, but that means that he emerges behind us. We're up into 15th.
Okay, let's get ready
now
to go racing again. The safety car is in this lap.
Schumacher's
when the field accelerates,
13.
remember, there is no overtaking until the green flags. Safety car in this lap.
And it's signed. But as you can see, one of the Raikkonen's Alfa Romeo is doing rather well. But there's more trouble up ahead as more people clip each other down into turn 1 and start causing piles of cars getting stuck behind each other. And this is the problem as we try and all snake our way through. I don't want Mazepin and Ricciardo to get round me at all. I'm going to try and cling on to Alonso. And there you can see Latifi and Schumacher going at it for 12th and 13th. Sainz has got round them. And there's the problem. It's Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's lost his front wing, or damaged it, and he's into the pits. And so our championship leader with a 26-point lead is no longer going to score. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're reenacting Spa 2000, sorry. But slightly more quickly, sorry. Sorry, Danny Rick. Sorry, Mazepin. And then I get my comeuppance with Latifi and Alonso clapping each other. And that hurt my front wing. But it was so late in the day, and having seen what Hamilton had done, pitted and basically lost out entirely, Alonso also seems to be in technical trouble with his front wing, so there we go, Mazepin gets past Alonso as well. Latifi might be 12, Schumacher 11, Russell is up the road there as well, I believe, but so is Kimi Raikkonen, so all of this battle for the back end of the championship order for the constructors, it's all going wrong. Alonso back past us again. There's Ricciardo and Markelov too. I choose to stay out. I think, oh, do you know what? We're on the last lap. Coming up, what's the worst that can happen? But look, Mazepin and Alonso both in. So that's 2 more positions for me. Ricciardo in as well. So actually it works out beautifully for Team Osella. We're now P13, P14. And so all I do is do a little casual let through for Artem Markelov coming out of Sector 1 just so that he gets a clean advantage. There's Lewis Hamilton, he's going to be P15. And so his seemingly unassailable 26-point advantage is absolutely whittled away. Because up front, Valtteri Bottas is just having a beautiful time of it. Through goes Artem for his best finish of the season to date. You can see my car's foobarred, isn't it? Still a P14 though. I'm sure Claire will love that.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Upturn in fortune as well now that I've got rid of the Pride banner on my halo. Carlos Sainz gets the driver of the day. But for me, I think it was probably Kimi Raikkonen, because as you'll see on the standings, it's all big change.
Spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
I do love driving the Mexico circuit. I'm not very fast at it though, but I just love the flow. I know I've said that plenty of times before.
So after a
but there's the big
race,
one.
we can now see the drivers making their way
Bottas
to the
wins.
podium.
Vettel on the podium for Aston Martin. Great for them.
Top spot. A well-earned victory for
Leclerc third for Ferrari. No Red Bulls in sight yet again. Red Bull have really tailed off this season. Nice to see another constructor up on the podium though.
And now let's take a look at the
Perez was fourth ahead of Verstappen. Sonoda gets his best run into 6th. But look, Kimi Raikkonen 7th.
Contender for driver of the day.
Carlos Sainz certainly wasn't someone to scoff about. His ability to
and George Russell gets a point for Williams, and that is crucial for them too.
Nothing can challenge the leaders
Mick Schumacher just misses out, as does Latifi.
But
to Osella's.
It's another clear win for Mercedes as they manage to secure the Constructors' title. An incredible performance for the whole team. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improved their position in the championship.
And of course, no points for McLaren.
Wild weekend of Formula One action.
And although it's only a 4-5 for Red Bull, that is enough to move them ahead of McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. So plenty to play for here. Crazy though, that Alfa Romeo result is going to cause ripples throughout the bottom third of the Constructors' Championship. And Hamilton, although he got the fastest lap, that stopped Bottas getting 26 points. It's not good, is it? It's not good at all. And that basically means going into the final race of the season at Interlagos, Brazil, there'll be 1 point between them. You can see Verstappen 2 stopped. And there you can see terminal damage for Stroll, Norris and Gasly, where they all crashed out. Giovinazzi mechanical failure. Quite a few front ring changes. Look at that at the end. I think we caused most of that as well, sorry. Not Hamilton's one though. Yeah, look, 1 point between them. Well clear of Verstappen, back into third ahead of the McLarens and Perez. 2 Ferraris. Vettel now ahead of Stroll in the battle of the Aston Martins. Tsunoda gets ahead of Alonso, so now we've got the 2 AlphaTauris together in the point standings ahead of Alonso. Ocon, not a great year for him, is it? As he slips behind Kimi Raikkonen there in the standings. Crazy, even though that was Ocon getting points that round. And look at the changes. Red Bull ahead of McLaren, but Alfa Romeo leapfrog from 10th to 8th. We slipped to 9th, and Williams, despite scoring a point, slipped to 10 and put us dangerously close to potentially ending up down in 10th as well. We're punching well above our weight. Can we keep it going? Well, the other big shock, as you'll have just seen there, changes to regulation announced. It's all the durability and chassis bits. And look, 7 parts of durability. No! You've heard the amount of engine problems I've had. So, all of our development points need to go into restructuring some of that. As you can see, Aston Martin second best car, McLaren 4th now. Alpine have gone ahead of AlphaTauri as well for the final round.
Welcome along then to the place where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner. And it's the place, a year later, that Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race. But before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
Of course, with all of this, we've now got 3 sponsors on the car, which is helpful.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo. A strong showing from the Australian. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, Carlos Sainz and Verstappen, Vettel, Gasly, Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi.
Top 10 for him.
Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Yuki Tsunoda and Russell, Perez, Raikkonen, Charles Leclerc and Smith, Markelov, Ocon, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Lots of penalties and confusion on that grid.
OK, let's finish the season with a strong effort.
Well, you say that. So, no contra strategies here. We're up in contention with people. We don't necessarily have the car to be able to do too much, but we'll give it a go. I don't know if that was a tap with Raikkonen, but that was helpful. Yeah, it was a tap. And in we go. Ooh, a bigger tap there with Perez. That's less helpful as we try and hold Russell behind us. Indeed we do, and that allows Raikkonen to have a little go. So we go down into the end of sector 1. Can we hold on around the outside and try and make a meal of it? Ah, not quite. And that I think might let Leclerc have a go at getting past us as well. We do, we back out of it, and then that books George Russell, and that was Ocon and Markelov through. And that was a pincer move to try and get back past Leclerc. God knows how he managed that. Great stuff. Someone's slow at the back. That looks, I think it must be Russell with a front wing problem there. Although it didn't look like we touched, but maybe we did. But at the end of lap 1, despite us nearly crashing into the back of Sergio Perez, who is again, he keeps getting sent out in qualifying, and then not having a final run. So it means that his qualifying positions are all over the shop compared to where he should be, and so his season's just been compromised with it. And that's Perez battling Tsunoda, and this was a great little battle to watch, it must be said. I'm loving how the AI are aggressive but relatively clean throughout everything that they do. So let's see how they get on. And as you can see, having a proper good squabble.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
And way better on the brakes. And probably way better on the driver as well, as Leclerc goes through up into 15th. But Tsunoda's on mediums, which is interesting, because if we can kind of, again, that clinging on whilst we've got the tyre improvement, let's look at Leclerc there, diving past Tsunoda nicely. Juicy stuff.
Gap to teammate behind is 2.5
like
seconds.
We could potentially have a go at Tsunoda ourselves. I think that's just me having a little bit of wishful thinking. The car starts to get a little light, but it is lovely to be able to see some of the midfield kind of squabbling away, and we're still able to visually see it on lap 4 of 18. But of course, it's never that simple. So with all the reliability stuff changing for next year, yet again, it looks like we're going to have another engine problem.
Okay, there appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
It never means that we stop, but you can kind of see that from immediately from this point, we are no longer as competitive. Yeah. And so as Tsunoda starts to pull away because we're no longer able to keep up with our top speed, that kind of
can confirm that it's an issue with our engine.
In the battle with Tsunoda, as you can see Alonso and one other driver popping into the pits there. Move this up. Great to see Markelov as well, ahead of a few guys, mainly due to tyres and a few pit stops, but 14th and 16th for the Osellas at half distance. I'll take it. I don't think Markelov's done a particularly bad job this season. He was a bit scrappy in the middle of the season, but has found his footing towards the end. As the pit stops unfold, of course we're still out and others have pitted. That's put us in between the Hamilton and Verstappen battle. We're not battling with any of that, so Verstappen goes through. But again, it's Hamilton behind Bottas. So Bottas is leading and looking good for the championship.
We think you're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
To the pits. And that lets Ocon, who's had some free air, just absolutely leapfrog us.
Exit now.
And so Ocon goes to bat against Mick Schumacher.
That was
and just as Lewis Hamilton retires, which means Valtteri Bottas is the championship winner, Hamilton out with a mechanical failure. He's had so many grid penalties all season.
We're catching the car ahead, but
really
be aware that these tyres need to last till the end of the race.
Bottas be able to take all of that, but with Hamilton out, and we'll pass him now, that is the end of his championship charge. And the championship leader is going to lose it. So long as Bottas can finish. Let's see if he does.
Caution, caution.
So, Mick Schumacher having a spin, trying to get round Esteban Ocon or hold the position. That brings us
Peak gap
up
to the car ahead
15th.
is 8.4 seconds.
Now this pin to 17. And that was me for the rest of the race. Just bringing it on home for the Osella team. No dramas, no issues, clean run. A nice, simplistic way to finish off the season with a P15. I was a happy bunny. But Bottas won the race and therefore won the Drivers' Championship. Wow.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
There he is.
And so the celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level,
Mercedes, of course, were
is anything but simple.
the Constructors' Champions too.
We have a new World Drivers' Champion.
Bottas gets to enjoy his championships on the podium.
And the championship as well. What a phenomenal end to a terrific Formula One season.
So the front wing count for me finishes at 13. So I hope you had enough shots to do that. But this was exactly what I wanted. I wanted an extreme My Team career mode, and I've set it up to be hard as nails. It's going to be continuously hard for the rest of the campaign. But each video will be a 10 race season. For season 2 onwards, I'm going onto a website and spinning a Wheel of Fortune wheel to pick the 10 rounds, and I'll put the footage of that in from season 2 onwards. I just wanted to start with tracks that I love for season 1 before we go into the chaos. But with all of that, I believe we've secured 9th in the Constructors. So, double podium for McLaren, their first of the season. And with Perez only down in 10th, I think that gives McLaren second in the Constructors' Championship as well.
Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
Difficult call, but I'd like to say Esteban Ocon. He's just so gifted at getting the most out of
Another
his
good double
tyres,
points
and he
call
showed
for
that today.
Aston Martin, but with the second best car in theory.
But regardless, let's look at the standings. It's
kind of
another
think
clear
that
win
they
for
should be a bit
Mercedes as they managed to
disappointed with
secure the
57.
Constructors' title. An
Gasly grabs
incredible
more points.
performance
Alonso in
for
for
the whole
Alpine.
team.
I think that
There
was
also
very
a strong showing from
savvy
the McLaren
again.
team today, as they
Leclerc.
make their way up the standings.
Yeah.
Well, Ant, an end to
Not
another
so great
fantastic
for
weekend
the
of
Ferrari
racing.
stack from the
Thanks
back.
to everyone
I'm
who
very
joined
happy
us,
though.
and we'll see you for the next one.
As you can see there, Markelov tailing off the back with Alonso and Mazepin. Did beat Mick Schumacher though after his spin. Russell and Raikkonen both lapped with issues somewhere along the line. Didn't know what happened to Raikkonen. Oh, Raikkonen hit Mick Schumacher and Russell was there at the same time, so something must have kicked off there. Naughty, naughty. And of course Hamilton's championship-defining retirement with a mechanical failure just a few laps from home, but he wasn't in the position to win before that happened. So Bottas wins the championship. Ricciardo ends up third in the end, ahead of Verstappen, Norris, Perez. Leclerc was the best Ferrari, Vettel the best Aston Martin, Alonso leapfrogs Tsunoda right in death. Raikkonen, Ocon, we're 16th. Giovinazzi ends up 18th at the last moment too. And there you can see McLaren leapfrogs Red Bull to take second ahead of Ferrari, and Aston Martin 5th with finishing the second fastest car. So let's listen to Claire as she asks us some questions for the season. I don't think we're smashing anyone's expectations, Claire, but we'll give it a go.
There today. Let's have your thoughts. It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations,
I
isn't it?
think by our performance on the track, Claire, you'd be able to answer that one yourself.
Your R&D team has been working non-stop this season. Is this to catch up or stay
Yeah,
ahead?
not a great look from us. I actively ignored the power unit for all of this because we had Honda, which gives you like a decent enough advantage to begin with. I've been focusing on reliability. Now that all has to be rectified and changed, that causes us with loads of problems with the R&D points. So with the car and the way how it handled all the way throughout season 1, I want to go back and look at chassis and aero
Formula 1 today, wasn't it?
As much as reliability and try and pull that in there. So for our driver for next year, I felt like Martin Markle have done an okay job, but since we're a Honda team, let's bring in Nobuharu Matsushita. He's cheaper and he's statistically stronger.
Here you can make an offer to your driver. The more you
so
offer,
we offered him a low-risk deal, and Nobuharu Matsushita said, yes please, thank you very much. And so he is our 2022 driver.
Period.
Hi, Will. That cameraman reminds me of one of my exes.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions.
Now, I've got no idea what this
That
is.
interview clip circulating online paints your teammate in a
because he's only just joined the team. Yes, I had a career choice around Artem Markelov having bad press. Don't know, I've not really seen hide nor hair of Lucas Weber. That's actually what's going on in their Breaking Point story mode. I feel like that doesn't work in my team. That's because we were waiting for our prize money to come in for finishing P9. Thank you, Will. We'll spend it in a minute.
Is there no more room for improvement, or are you prioritising other areas?
It makes it go vroom vroom, yes.
I saw a lot of new technicians in your powertrain department. Is this a major focus for you?
No, we're doomed for failure. We are a backmarker team. What more do you want to know, Will? We're Osella. Come on.
Quite been going your way this season.
Oh dear. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed season 1. I'm super excited for season 2. It'll probably be about a month before I get there. But I did some upgrades, which I'll start off with season 2's video to show you where we're starting progress-wise. We've managed to sort out some parts, and I've had a great time. If you enjoy all of this, please consider subscribing and giving it a like. Catch you next time. Bye! Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.